Hello all. I am just going to go through a couple of the problems from the packet that require you to do a little more than just base times height. If you look here, it says the page number, the page number and the number I picked. And the reason I picked this problem is because it does not have a height. So you're going to have to figure out the height first in order to do the area formula, because the area formula has B1, B2, and the height. So right now we're missing the height, and we're actually missing, I'll call this one B2, and we're also missing B2. So we need to figure out those two things. What I could do is I realize that this is marked as a 45, 45, 90. So if you remember the rules for our 45, 45, 90, which you should, in a 45, 45, 90, it's X, X, and X root 2. So since this is 4 root 2 for the hypotenuse, that means that this is 4, and that means that this is also 4. So that allows us to figure out the height. The height is now 4, so it's going to be area equals half the height, which is 4, and then B1 and B2. Well, we already knew the top base was 5, and the other one is going to be 9 because this is a rectangle. So since that's 5, this is 5, making the entire base 9. And then we can find the area. It's half 4 times 13. And 4 times 13, again, we can take half of the 4 and get 2. So 2 times 13, our area is 26. And I have inches, so inches squared. So that would be the way you did that problem. Next problem. Same page, page 3, number 2. Page 3, number 2, this is another trapezoid. So again, the elements that we need in order to do the formula are the heights, the base 1, and base 2. So let's look at the problem. Here, for this problem, we already have the height, and we have one of the bases. We're missing the other base. So that's what we have to figure out. So let's look at what we got and work backwards. So for this one, again, we would do area equals half. The height is at this point 4 root 3. Now, I think the directions on the sheet say to leave it in radical form. So I'll leave it in radical form for this worksheet. And then we need the two bases. So one of the bases is 7, and the other base is the issue. Now again, this in the middle is a rectangle. Opposite sides are congruent. So that's how we would know that it's 7. But we still need to figure out these little parts because those parts are necessary to figure out this entire bottom base. So what we need to do is use the triangle. The triangle over here is a 30, 60, 90. So again, here come our specials. So for the 30, 60, 90, let me get the smaller pen. For the 30, 60, 90, this is 30, 60, it's x, 2x, and x root 3. That's the rule. So for this one, you're starting with the height, or the long leg, which is 4 root 3. So that's going to make this little part at the bottom 4. That's the thing we needed. So this is 4. This is the same triangle over here, so that's also 4. So the entire base is 15. So now I bring it to the rest of the formula, plus 15. And now I just finish up the math. So it's going to be half 4 root 3 times 22. I can do half of 4. Half of 4 is 2. So it's 2 root 3 times 22. The answer is 44 root 3. If you got the decimal, just in case, I'll put it, even though it said leave it in radical form. The decimal will be 76.2. Some of you might have done the trig, so that might be why you ended up with a decimal, but that would be your answer. Next. Page 3, another trapezoid. So here, again, we have to look at what we need. We need the height and the bases. So for this one, we know the height. I'm sorry, we don't know the height. So that's what we need to figure out. We do know that this base is 6. That's one of the parallel sides. Put that in. And we need the other base. Now we know this part of the base is 6, but again, we need to know this little part in order to know the entire base. So again, I look at the triangle. Just did this one on the last one, so I'm not going to rewrite it, but this is, oops, let me erase that. Thought I picked yellow. This is a 30, 60, 90. And in this 30, 60, 90 that we have here, the hypotenuse is 8. I'm doing great right now. The hypotenuse is 8. So since the hypotenuse is 8 in this 30, 60, 90, that's going to make the short leg here 4. And that's going to make the the long leg, or the height, 4 root 3. So we plug into the formula, our height is 4 root 3. And our other base, since it's 4 and 8, is 12. So now we finish it up. It'll be half 4 root 3 times 18. Answer is going to be 2 root 3 times 18. Answer is 36 root 3. Again, in case you use the trig and you got a decimal, I will tell you what that is. The answer is 62.4. Would be roundabout what you would round that to. All right, next slide. All right, this is page 4, number 2. Pick this one because it's the area of a rectangle, so that's pretty much as easy as it gets. But it's asked, obviously the area formula for a rectangle is base times height. Here, I'm not giving you the base and I'm not giving you the height. So both of those things are question marks. We need this and we need this. So I guess I should put X and Y there. Let me not put question marks. So for this, let's say we need this, X, the base. I guess I could put base and height. So let me erase and put that. So for this, we need the height. I'll put H here. And we need the base. Can't find the area of a rectangle or a parallelogram without that. So there's a right angle here. That's enough to know that this is a right angle because parallelogram opposite angles are congruent. So now we know we have this right triangle here. Again, now this is a right triangle. So that means we could use any of our methods that we've done with the right triangles to find the missing pieces. For this one, unlike the previous two examples, this is not a special because it's 28 degrees. So we're going to have to use the trig. So let's refresh your memory on that. So we have our SOHCAHTOA. And we need to just go from there. So I'm going to start with, I guess whatever. I'll leave it with the H. I don't want you to think that's the hypotenuse. But I'll start with H. So from 28, this is opposite. So opposite, and this is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to use the sign. Sorry if my H is confusing you. But, so it's going to be the sine of 28 equals opposite over hypotenuse. So it's going to be H over 28. And then I will solve that. And to solve this, I'm going to have to use a calculator. Again, you can't use the trig without it. Remember, the way we did this was we set up the proportions. We ended up with H equals 28 times the sine of 28. All right, 28 sine. Actually, let me make sure my calculator is in degrees. It is not. So 1 second, enter. All right, sorry, I had to put in degrees. So it's 28 times the sine of 28. And my answer for that is 13.1. So now I know the height. Now I need to find the base. So I'm going to find this now. This from the 28, this is the adjacent, and this is the hypotenuse. So I'm going to use the cosine for that. Cosine of 28 equals B over 28. And again, I solved this, set up my proportion, End up with B equals 28 times the cosine of 28. 28 cosine 28. I get 24.7. And that's my base. And I have my height. So to find the area of the rectangle, it's going to be, or parallelogram, whatever you want to call it, 13.1 times 24.7. And that's going to give you my answer. And I get 323.6. Final answer for that one. Next slide. All right, on to the next one. This is page 6, number 2. This one really isn't that difficult, but I just want to make sure everyone read it carefully. It says to find the area of a square with a perimeter of 48. So if the square had a perimeter of 48, again, what you need to be thinking about is that all the sides are congruent. So the perimeter was 4s. So it's going to be 48 equals 4s. So that allows you to figure out that the side is 12. And once you figure out the side is 12, then you can plug that into the area formula. So the area is going to be just 12 squared. And that's going to be 144. If you put the units, obviously I've been putting it the whole thing. But again, sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. Next slide. All right, now this one is very basic. The issue and why I did this one is just because I want to make sure you are looking at units. It should have stood out to you anyway, just because the diagram looks strange. Like, why would this be 3 and this be 3? So just visually, it should have stood out. I will probably have 1 or so unit changes on a quiz or an exit card. Won't be a significant number of them. And if I do, it will be like inches to feet, like basic things that everyone should know. But if you don't know this, 1 yard is 3 feet. So I'm going to convert this from yards into feet. So since I had 3 yards, that was times 3. So I'm going to do this times 3 as well. So it's going to be 9 feet. So once I have all my units the same, now I just do my base times height. So 9 times 3. My area is 27 square feet. So again, just watch the units. I will have 1. Next one. This one was not too difficult, but I just want to make sure everyone can graph them appropriately and know how to find the height. So I'm going to plot the points. 0, 0 for A. You should be labeling them too. 3, 0 is B. 4, 3 is C. And D is 1, 3. Connected. Here's my shape. Oh man. Oh, I'm the worst with the stylus thing, guys. Hopefully I will get better over time. Anyway, area equals. I already put it up here. Once you see the graph, hopefully everyone recognizes that it is a parallelogram, so it should be base times height. And if it's in the coordinate plane, you should not be doing any distance formula or anything like that. Anything I give you in the coordinate plane, you should be able to just count the boxes for the base and height or whatever the case may be. So if you find yourself doing distance formula, maybe you plotted something wrong or you're not looking at the picture carefully, it wouldn't be any distance formula. So this is 1, 2, 3. So it's just 3 for the base. The height is, again, has to be straight up. So you should not be trying to figure this out with the distance formula. Height's always going to be straight up. And again, we can just count, which is also 3. So our area here is 9. And again, it's in the coordinate plane, so just units squared. Next problem. All right, now for this one, you see I popped in 2 formulas here. This is a combination of, you could do it a few ways. I guess I would probably only do it one way. I would have done this, the method I would have taken is to find the area of the big triangle and then subtract this rectangle. So take that away, and then what's going to be left for those two? Some people might try to do the two smaller triangles. You could do that as well. So you could try to do like these two and add them up. That could be another method. To each his own, how you choose to do it. Sometimes you have an option of, either way. So I'm going to go for the big triangle and subtract the rectangle from it. So again, I'm going for this big one here. Use the other pen. Oh man, this one here. All right, so since that's a big triangle, I'm going to do half. Base and height of that are going to be 12 and 16. So I can take half of, in my head, it's easier for me to do multiples of 12 and 16. So I'm going to do half of 16. So it's going to be 12 times 8. And I know that 12 times 8 is 96. So easier for me to do it that way. So it's the triangle minus the rectangle. That's what I'm trying to do. So that's the triangle. Now I need the rectangle. For the rectangle that I'm using, it's this one here. And that rectangle is just 6 by 11 for the area. So obviously that's just 66. If you want to write it out, there we go. All right, so it's going to be 96 minus the 66. So my answer is going to be 30 square feet. Next. Number 10. Number 10, the area formula is there. The shape as is, you have two approaches again. You can either do this as a combination of something like the following. You can split it up. So you have 1, 2, 3 rectangles and add them up. Plus 2 plus 3 and get the final answer that way. You could also have done this method where you close it off. So you could kind of close this off as one big rectangle and then subtract the small one here. So you could do that. Or you could do, the third option would be kind of the same as the first one, but you could do like this one big rectangle here and then these two little ones. All right, so these are your options. I'm going to go for the 3 rectangles. It's up to you what you choose to do. Really does not matter, but I'm going to go for, again, the 3 just to show you some different ways to do it. So I'm going to go for the 3, and I'm going to go for the initial 3 that I wrote out. So like I said, I'm going to go for the 1, 2, 3 setup. So if I'm looking at rectangle number 1, all right, I'm going to rectangle 1 like that. And for that, therefore, I need the dimension. So for this one, it's just 10 by 30. So 10 by 30 is just going to be 300. All right, rectangle 2. For rectangle 2, I'll do this one in green here. For rectangle 2, all the way across the top is 65. So if you use 65, that would not be correct because that would be going all the way across. And the one that I'm finding the area of is just this middle green part. So I only want to use the 45. So it's going to be 45. And then for the height here, that's what I have to figure out. Since this whole thing is 30 and this part is 15, I know what's left up top there is also 15. So 45 times 15 is something. That is 675. Oh, green on green, not smart, but whatever. And then for the last one, we're going to be doing this blue one over here. And that one is 3. And for that one, we also have 10 by 30. So if you recognize it's the same from the beginning, I didn't, so I just did it twice. You could have just did, this times 2 for the 2 of the same rectangles. And then I just add these 3 things up here, and my answer will be 1275. Next. Last one, praise God. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Plot the points first, so I know what type of figure I'm dealing with. And obviously, because this already came in here, I'm assuming it's a parallelogram again, but let me plot my points. So my points are going to be 3, 2. Again, you should be labeling the points. Negative 4, 2. Negative 4 up 2 is I. Negative 2, negative 3 is J. And K is 5, negative 3. And I'm going to connect it. Let me get the bigger one. That looks a little better sometimes. Alrighty. Praise God. Makes it look like I'm doing something. Not so hurriedly. Alrighty. So now I have my formula up here and I'm just going to plug in. So again, this should be counting. You should not be doing any distance formula. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my base is 7 and my height, again, do not try to figure out this side. That's wrong. The height needs to go straight up and down. You could do it from here, anywhere. But when you count for the height, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my area is 35 units squared. Voila. I am going to post a review, like a exit card review. You will have an exit card on Monday. These videos will be checked for completion, that you watch them on Monday. Have a good day.